If your username and password doesn't change, it means automatically they take this vulnerability and entering into your system. So as a result, this attack was happened in October 21, 2016 from 11:10 to 1:20 and again 3:50 to 5 p.m. So as a result of this, they have created the 10 to 20x normal traffic volume. So what is called 10 to 20x traffic volume means, so in general, your system can able to access like some traffic of 100 like that means, so into power 10 means 1000. So now in it will 10 times the normal traffic. So automatically what will happen is it will lead to the distributed denial of service attack. So that's what I told initially, what is called DOS, what is called DDoS, right? So DOS means attacker will use a single system to affect the organization or some other thing. In DDoS will have several botnets will be there. That means our victims will be there. For example, I'm going to attack one organization means first I will hack the vulnerable system in the nearby places. So from that I will hack all the things and attack the things. So that is called as the distributed denial of service. So what they have done is 10 to 20 is normal traffic across large number of IP. So it is a kind of DDoS attack because the attack is generated from various IP addresses. And mm, since both normal traffic and attack traffic is coming from the different IP addresses, it is difficult for the intrusion detection system to detect whether it is a correct one or wrong one. So the packet flow is nearly to 40 to 50 times higher than the normal attack. And next after this Mirai botnet, we have a IO Trooper on attack. So this was that attack was more fast compared to the Mirai botnet attack. So these are all the some real-time information attack. And one more thing is called as the WannaCry attack. So WannaCry attack. So this attack is the recent attack in the year 2017. So what they're telling is it majorly about, affected 2 lakhs computer in 150 countries. So actually this attack was happened in two different modes. That means two stages. So first they have entered into the system. So once entered the system, they hacked your system resources and they applied their encryption technique. For example, if I am accessing your system means you have some personal information like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to encrypt your file. So what is called encryption means we're using some keys to change the data. For example, in all the cases, web page is HTTP and HTTPS. So in that HTTPS, it is called as the HTTP secure one. The secure one means your password will be encrypted and then sent to the server side. So that is the logic of every client server communication. So when you are transferring password means, if suppose we are giving some 5-digit password means 5 to 7-digit password means automatically it will be encrypted and it will leads to some 25 digits or 30 digits. So that is called the encryption. So the same thing they have also done. So what they have done is they look for the eternal blue. So if you search for this keyword, you will get to know about what is called as eternal blue. So this is one of the vulnerability exploit in the Windows system actually. Microsoft identified this one as the exploit and they release the patches. So what is called patches means that is an update. So whenever user is whenever there is that security team is identifying some patches, automatically what they will do is um, they will create the patches to update the vulnerabilities. So what this WannaCry attack will do, suppose they identified some vulnerability today means they will send the patches by tomorrow. So these patches can be installed by every system, then only we can protect your network. If some people fail to install or some people's not ready to install means automatically this WannaCry attack will focus on that particular system. That is a vulnerability and things. So that is what I initially told. If there is any vulnerability in your system means automatically your OS itself, the on manufacturer itself will identify that. They will send the details. Suppose if you don't the details means automatically this will become the vulnerability for the attackers. So using that vulnerability, it can easily enter your system and hack the system. So that is the logic of this WannaCry. So what they have done is, by using this one, that is Eternal Blue, by using this exploit, they enter into your system, and once into your system, they have encrypted your content. So once it is encrypted means you cannot able to see your content. So if you want your information again means they will ask for the ransom. So give some amount in terms of bit currency, bitcoins, then only I will decrypt your messages like that. So these are all about the some basic attacks. So do you have any doubt in this 5 to 6 attacks? Home depart, target credit card. Okay, let us have a quick session. Think all are available. I'm going to ask some questions. You have to answer in that. Yes, let's take 10 minutes for that question answer session like that. So, what is the motive for that Stuxnet virus? You can use refer the net also to answer the question. So, one student got finished. And 40 students not yet started the session. You just refer in the Google what is called Stuxnet virus. Okay, good. 3 students got finished. You just explain what is the motive for that. 2 more minutes left. Last 1 minute. Yes, okay. Time up. Nearly 15 students not yet started. In progress 16. Yes, it is about to end. 4 students are in progress. Please submit this. Okay, I think those 15 students are not available in the meeting, right? So they just enable the mic. They're doing some personal works. Okay, so very good. So nearly 41 students have attended. See that. That's very good. So first digital weapon and used to store the information to delay the Iran from completing the Iranian project. Very good. Responsibilizing as faculty to reduce the development of Iran nuclear facilities. Good. Development of Iran's nuclear development program. Yes, multi-part of form developed USB sticks spread through the micro. Very good. Very good. One of the students target centrifuges used to produce the enriched that powers the mechanism. And stuckness was a multi-part warm USB sticks. Okay. Very good. Very good. That's a really good. Most of the students have understand this concept. It's really good. And, one more thing. So it is a multiple choice only, so it won't take much time. Yes, I'm going to open another poll. Start responding. Who are more powerful, activist or amateurs or ethical hacker? Your names will not come to me, so no problem. You just give your answer. I won't ask you why I given like this. Type your names and register number in chat box. No need to type your name and register number. You have at the end you will have some feedback form will come. So in that feedback form you will give your details. That is for the attendance. 28 students answered. In next 1 minute, poll will be closed. Yes, last 20 seconds. Yes. Okay, good. Almost 40 students, 46 students answered. I'll close the poll. Okay, in that 27 students answered hackers active is the powerful, and 20 students answered ethical hacker is the powerful, and amateurs selected by 2 students. So actually 51 students responded. So very good. The correct answer is 28. That is activist. So actually ethical hacker is not one who is going to create the attacks. Actually ethical hacker is going to stop the attacks. So that white hat hackers, right? So they are called as the ethical hackers. So in your point of view, it is correct. Only ethical hacker is also the powerful one. But who is going to create more problems in our from the to the society means that is a activist only. So activists are the more powerful. So 28 students responded. Okay, good. Last question. What is the last question? So again on multiple choice question, right? So I have raised one more question, and please answer. It's only 1 minute time only. So who is the bad hacker? Black hat, white hat, or gray hat? Good. Last 20 seconds. Nearly 43 students answered. Okay, we'll close the poll. Nearly nearly 50 students answered out of 58. So very good. I think most of them are alive in this workshop. So it's really happy. So most of the students answered. The question is, who is the bad hacker? So answer is the black hat hackers. So white hat hackers and the gray hat hackers. So what their purpose is, they will look for vulnerabilities, but they have the authorized access to that system, right? So they are good hackers only actually. Black hat hackers means without any authorization, they will hack the information from the system. So nearly 90% of students has given the correct answers. It's a really good one. And last question. After that, we will go for the next session. I think you have to keep on refreshing. Uh, one more question. That is the last question for this session. That means for the security. Okay. I have opened one more poll. Please try to answer before 1 minute. So, what is the meaning of the ransomware? So, it's demanding for identity, or demanding for money, or demanding for curiosity. Nearly the four students answered. So, last 20 seconds. Please give the answers. Demanding identity, demanding money, or demanding curiosity. Okay, we'll close the session, close the poll. And nearly 85% of students answered. Only 9 students not answered the questions. So the question is, what is the meaning of ransomware, right? So it is demanding your identity, or demanding the money, or demanding curiosity. So the word itself, ransom, means it is asking for money only. So when the attackers hacking some information from your system or your network, and if you're asking for some amount, so that is called as the ransomware. So nearly some 85 students give the correct answers. So 1% is giving us a demanding curiosity. So demanding curiosity means it is the amateur hackers. So amateur hackers means they will just want to try to expose their knowledge only, not only for any purpose. For example, I'm going to explain about some new hacking techniques, right? So when you're interested in the technique means you will learn about more things in the internet and you will explore something in your system or your from system. So that is the curiosity. Identity means they are just taking back the identity, like your credit card. We have seen about the two warfares, that home depart and that target depart. So in that case, that is the identity based demanding. So good. Nearly most of the students are available. Think I will go for the next thing. So as of now, we have seen about what is called the first three agendas we have completed, right? So hereafter it will go very fastly because it's a techniques only, right? So we have seen about what is called cyber security, what are threat vectors and notable cyber attacks. So now you know what is called cyber security. Then who are all the cyber criminals and what are all the cyber attacks. So these are things you know with I have explained with real time attacks. So next thing, so these are all the general things available in the cyber security domain. So what is PII and PHI? So that PII represents personally identifiable information. So what is called personally identifiable information means, so the information belongs to that particular user in the system or in the network. So this can be all the things like your name, social security number, date of birth, credit card numbers, bank account, government IDs, address information. So these attackers will mainly focus on PII and PHI only, right? So what is called PHI, I will tell you. Then these are the information. So this is called as the identity theft. So identity theft means your identity will be taken from your system and it can be used for some other purpose. So what other purpose means they can be used to take some short-term loans. By using your identity, they will look for take loan for some 50,000, 1 lakh, right? So that is that PA and PHI. So that's what they given in. So why PA? So why are you using to sell in the dark web? Have you know about what is called dark web, dark net? Anyone know about that one? What is called dark web, dark net? Yes, one of the student mentioned as yes. Okay, what is called this dark web? If you need to know the answer means you can enable your mic and you can speak also, no problem. Dark net. So it is a dangerous website which cannot be accessed by everyone. So that's right. So the dark web, it's not about a complete dangerous website. So this dark web, actually whatever we are using is a social websites, right? In and almost students also answer it is highly illegal website. What we see in the internet is 10 percentage. Yes, good one. So in the dark web, if you're accessing the dark web means your identity will not be exposed to anyone. You will be act as a anonymous user. Yes, remaining 90% of dark web. Okay, good answer. I think Sai Jaswant and Raghavendra, they mentioned two answers. So the dark web means, so it is also a same like your normal websites. So what those websites cannot be viewed in your normal search engines. And similarly, this will take more number of security as weapons and drugs are available in it. So that's also correct. So it is both applicable for illegal and legal purpose also. Whenever you have some military kind of information sharing means they will use the dark web again. So what is the use of PA in that case? Means to sell in the dark web. So they will use your information and they will uh, give it to the some other person in the dark web. It's a payment method mostly by bitcoins. Yes, good. Very good. So and this is what the dark web is. So dark web can be, sorry, 1 second. accessed with a special software and used by cyber criminals to shield their activities. So, as I already mentioned, these dark web or websites will not be accessed with the help of your Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. So, you should have the specialized software to use this. I will tell you one thing, and for that, we are using a dark web means your identity will not be exposed. It will be act as anonymous user. If suppose you are searching for some other things in the Google Chrome means automatically in some file in some investigation the forensics can able to do with that. Yes, some of them mentioned tar website, right? Okay, tar. Yes, very good, tar. So what is called tar? So this is the one of the search engine to access your dark web. So that is nothing but your the onion router. So that is commonly generally called as the tar website, tar search engine. So what's the main using an VPN? The original location can be changed. Tar has VPN. Yes, yes, good information. So we are using the virtual private network to fabricate your IP address, right? So when you're accessing some illegal sites, or if you want to hide your information from some security sites, means we are using that VPN. But this tar browser in general, it will use the concept of VPN to hide your to hide your identity. So that is the main purpose. The main difference between the normal browser, this tar browser, it will take more time to uh, give the data, because this is the layer by layer one. So actually, what is called the onion. So if you peel the onion, there will be nothing in that place. It will come layer by layer. It will come. Nothing will inside that. The same thing. The star is also the layer by layer approach. So it is very difficult to identify from which place the particular request is coming on. So that is the thing. So I have the tar browser. I will show you how it will be like that. So maximum number of illegal transactions will be done through this tar browser only. I think you can able to see this star website, right? So this is the one. Here you can access the normal page also, but tar web pages are mainly end with the extension dot onion. So this is the extension for that web page. In general, it will take yes, in normal browser anyone can track your activities very easily, whereas in tar it has special firewall. Yes, instead of special firewall, it is anonymous activity. Even though you search for something in the net, your identity will not be exposed to anyone. So that is the use of thing. So the tar with the VPN, it's highly difficult to encrypt the that means to know the identity of user. For example, HTTP. So here also all the things are available. You can access the Facebook. You can access all the things. I think you refer to website. So normally it will take more time, just like incognito mode, correct only. So normally this you can take any web pages in this Tar web browser. It will take more number of time to open this. For example, this is one of the sample web page. So extension with so it is similar to your like mm, your question and answer forum, public forum like that, like Stack Overflow, like this thing. For example, I'm going to access the same web page in my normal browser. So it will show the error. So we cannot access the onion dot onion, that is the tar web pages in the normal web browser, but we can access the normal web pages in the tar browser. So the main use of using this is to fabricate or to not exposing the user identity. So that is the main thing. Why the use, this is the thing. Yes. So that's why you're using the PYI. So once they collect the user information, they will sell in the dark web. So what is the main purpose of this? They will create the fake accounts such as credit cards to gain the credit cards or to take the short-term loans also. That is the main purpose for taking the PAI. And next one is the PHI. So that is a protected health information. So it is a part of the PAI, right? So what the thing is, in foreign countries like our Aadhaar card, they have a medical card also. So in that medical card, if you take it to any place, automatically it will be updated in that medical card database. So what the users will this they will do is they will hack that information also, and use that information for the to sell in the dark web also. So the medical community creates and maintains electronic medical records that contain PHI. So the protected health information will be available in the PI also. That information also they can expose in the dark website. So that is the use of this PII and PHI. So this is some of the attacks which happened in the healthcare industry by exposing the attack. So these attacks are happened nearly in the same year and next month. So in the first attacks, they have nearly taken the 2.2 million patient records. And the second attacks, what they have done is they have stolen the laptop and portable drives from the government agency, and from that device they have hacked the 5 million people information. And in the third attack, it's a payroll company exposed attack. They got the tax information about nearly the 6 lakh companies. So these are attacks related to PII. So what are the damages will come when the hackers take your PII? So that is the meaning of this one. So like our other called only. So then next one, politics and national security. So this is similar to your national attacks. So here also they mentioned Stuxnet. Uh, Stuxnet is the prime example for the network attack mode in national security concern. So just now only how everyone mentioned. So it is a Stuxnet is the attack between Israel and the Iran and the US government. So to slow down the process of uranium enrichment process. So that is the reason. So that one is a national wide attack. So the main reason behind this is a politically motivated. We come to the last point, that is the last competitive advantage. So consider the scenario. You have a friend, for example, you are the person A. You are telling some personal information about you to the person B. So it's a very very close friend of you. He knows everything about you. So you are telling like don't tell any secret. Don't tell this matter again anyone to some other things. So one day there is a person called C. He is telling the same thing to the A. Now, what happened in the backend is C is the hacker which hacked the system of B and takes the information from the B. Unfortunately, the B system contains the information about the A. So now what will happen is now C has the two concerns. So one is A has the two concerns. One is his personal information is released to some other than this B, and another thing is he has lost his trust over B. So one is affected to the leakage of information, and second is the loss loss of trust over B. So in this two case, which one will have highly affected means the second one only, because they have trusted the user B, but he has given all the secrets to C. So that's what happening in the cyber war or cyber crime at this time. When you are giving some your information to the organization or your bank or everything, suppose if the bank expose their records to some third party hackers, means our fear and our will comes towards the bankers only. The reason is we have trusted bankers only, so you have lost the thing. So that's what they're telling. So the companies are increasingly worried about the corporate espionage inside. What is espionage means? That is spy. So this word represents spy. So companies are worrying about the spy, but loss of trust that comes when a company is unable to protect its customers' personal data. So when the user thinks about the loss of data or loss of trust means when you mainly focus on the loss of trust only, because you are given the information to the user only, they lost the data. So even though it is taken by some others, you lost the trust over that particular company. Automatically, the company's reputation will get damaged. So that is the main aim of this thing. In what case the organization will expose the info to the hackers? Any examples? Actually, the organization will not sell any data to the user, any hackers directly. In this case, expose means there are so many vulnerabilities in your organization. Your security team is not ready to find out, not correctly find out the things in that problems. So attackers use that vulnerability point and take the data from that things. So the organization does not do anything purposefully to sell the data. Unfortunately, due to some vulnerability in the organization infrastructure, they have taken your data. So that is the cause. That is the reason there is no, I don't know, have proper examples. But in some movies, they are giving the examples like, so in a registration form, they're collecting all your details and they are giving the details to some people or companies like that. So these are things that are happening. In some movies, I have seen that. So in organizations, they're doing, but the main thing is you have lost the trust over the company. So what will happen is new user will not go to the company because you lost that trust, and the already available users will withdraw the um, product from your company. So that is the thing. Now I think we come to the most part, that is security operations center. So this is about your workshop, cyber ops and the security operations center. So what is called as the SOC means they are called as the experts. Initially, I told they are highly trained IT professionals, mainly in terms of security. They will give the so they give the proper structure and formalized way how to protect your IT solutions from the attackers. So that is the purpose of the security operations center. You will see the elements of the security. So these are the three elements. We have a people, process, technology. That means what are the people involved in that SOC, and what are the process, and what are the technologies they're going to use for that. So that is the thing. So let us take about the people. So we have actually four things, that is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 and the SOC manager. So how this propaganda will work means, so for every organization, you will have some security mechanism. For example, take your system, you will have a Windows Defender. If any unwanted activities happen, means it will show the alert, right? So what will happen when alert is not only generated for the correct attacks only, it can also generate false alarm rate, false alarm only, false alarm also. For example, you are opening some application. That application does not contain any security certificate, but it is the good software only. So automatically, your Windows Defender will generate a pop-up. This software is not secured. Or you want to continue? Yes or no. So this one is the alert. So this tier 1 alert analyst, what they will do is, whenever there is a pop-up, that is alert from the organization, means they will analyze the alert whether it is a true or false, whether the alert is really happened or this alert happened by mismatching the records like that. If it is true means, what this tier 1 workers will do is, it will pass on to the tier 2 workers. Who are the tier 2 workers? Is the incident responder. What they will do is, they will deeply analyze the alert. They will deeply analyze whether with the help of all the things, and they will recommend some preventive measures. So what are the things you have to do? Either you have to stop this process, or you can continue this process, or you can hold for some time. Like this, we have to give some alert. Then tier 3 is the important personals. So they are all the subject matter experts. Subject matter expert means there will be expert in the field for everything. For example, you have a network expert, you have a threat intelligence expert, and you have an endpoint expert. So these three peoples are like, these peoples will be in the subject matter expert. Once tier 2 confirmed this is an attack means, automatically tier three peoples will take action towards that and give a mitigation steps. So that is the use of the tier 3. And lastly, SOC manager. So it's act like supervising it. They will analyze all the things and give the reports to the organization. So what are the things you have to do? So these are the four peoples involved in the SOC activities. I think you can able to see this diagram, right? So level 1, level 2, level 3. So level 1 you have front lines. Who are the front lines means your organization software interface only. From that interface, this tier 1 analyst will get the messages like there is some alert is generated. So this tier 1 analyst are the basic workers. They will check for the whether it is true or false. They will check only things. This alert is occurred or not occurred. Sometimes if it is false alarm means they will stop it and again revoke the process. If it is a really alert means it will pass to the responder, that is incident responder. They will make a deep inspection of your alert. So once deep inspection is completed, they will pass on to this subject matter expert, that is a threat intelligence, network specialist, malware re-engineering. Malware, what is called malware re-engineering means, suppose if there is a any attack happen means you have to reverse the attack process, then only your organization will come into the normal effect. So that is a reverse engineering. Then we have a SME endpoint, that is a endpoint subject matter expert. So depends upon the problem, these workers will work, and finally they will send the report to SOC manager. So this SOC manager will consolidate all the things and give the preventive measures to the organization. So these are all the attacks happened in your system. These are all the vulnerabilities available in your system. That's why this attack happened. So please do this process to stop all the things. So these are the SOC people. Again, same thing. What are the process involved in the SOC? As I already mentioned, in the tier 1, what they will do is they will monitor the incidents and opens the ticket. So what is called ticket means whenever in IT field industry, they generally using the word called ticket. Have you cleared the ticket? Have you resolved the ticket? You will got like that. The same thing. So they will monitor for incident and they will give the ticket to that every incident, and they will do the basic threat mitigation. Basic threat mitigation means they'll check for whether it is true or false. If it is true means do this, false means do this. So once it is done, then tier 2 workers will do the deep inspection and it will ask for the and it will give some remedial policies to prevent the attack. So up to tier 1 and tier 2, these are all the measures they are recommending only. The tier 3 persons only will take the finalized action to be taken. So they will have the in-depth knowledge. So based upon that, they will take the preventive measures. So once they are finalized, they will send it to the SOC. That means a manager. So this is the process. And what are the technologies involved in the SOC means? So what they will do first, collecting and filtering data. So what is the need for filtering means when you are tracking the data from collecting information from the network means you will have the large values of data. For example, if you are analyzing some traffic information, you will have nearly some 40 to 50 fields of data will be there. But for analyzing the security concern, we don't need all the 50 fields. We just need only 4 to 5 fields. So that is the first point, collecting and filtering data. So once they done the collecting and filtering, what they will do is the detecting and classifying the threats. So what is called detecting and classifying threats. So classification, if you have more than one kind of threats available in that place means they will remove that. They will classify. So this attack is, for example, take the now COVID-19 cases. So initially they will classify into 3 layers, right? So green zone and yellow zone and red zone. So if there is no positive case means green zone. If there is some limited case means yellow zone. If there is some huge number of cases, red zone. So same thing. This layer 1 people, what they will do is they will analyze the process and give the classifying. So this alert is should be treated first. This alert should be treated second. This can be treated later. So likewise, they will analyze, classify things. After this, the three things will be done by the subject matter expert. So they will analyze the threats and identifying. Then lastly they will use the resources available in the organization to implement the preventive measures. And what the next step is, once the attack is detected means you have to do things. So one is file the pattern of attacks. So how they make the attack, And second one is we have to identify the entry point of the attack. So through which way the attacker enter into your system, that can be called as a vulnerability. That vulnerability should be addressed. So that is the last one, address the future threats. So the same kind of threats will not come to your organization again. So that is the last one. And apart from this, we have so many things available. So this can be used along with that. Same thing, event collection, correlation analysis, security monitoring, control, log management. So log management mainly, so it's called as the log. So log, we have log files, right? So what are the things happened in that system? For example, if you come to notice that there was an attack between 2 days. So between 2 days means you have to analyze the last 1 week data. So what all the data happened in that place? For example, if we take the attack of Home Depot, the first case study, how this was happened means they have particularly purchased in that system in that particular shop through the system only they have installed their malware. So same thing, this log management what will do is it will track all the process, what are the system using in your organization, what are the network resources you are connecting, what are the IP address you have entered and exit your system, what are the activities done by your user, all the things will be monitored with the help of the log management. So log management is the biggest topic. We have a separate session for log management itself. So it is an important one. Then what is called vulnerability assessment. So I already told what is called vulnerability weakness, right? So we have to identify the weakness in your system and tracking. For example, we'll go to so take the password. So what are the constraints you will give for the password? When will you say the password is vulnerable? Any ideas? I think we're all using a different kind of password, right? We're using the pattern, code, all the things. So when will you say what are the conditions you can give for the password? No ideas. When we give only alphabet, it is weak. Okay. So your password should be alphanumeric. Okay, that is the first condition we can give. Then uppercase and special case characters. Okay, good. You should include at least one special character. Okay. Phone number and date of birth. You want to use or don't want to use? Is weak case is a condition. So we cannot use the phone number and date of birth as a password. So then we should that's what I mentioned. Special characters. So then we should mention the length of the password. So length should be at least greater than 8. So whenever you're typing some password in the system, that is in web pages, when you start typing, it is showing the low. Then after something, it is showing sorry, weak, then strong, then highly strong. So likewise, you will get the code, right? So these are the some constraints for password. So if you are setting some password with the help of simply like this, I'm giving some password like this, triple five, five fives. So this password is vulnerable for the attackers. The reason is if they know is universal password good or bad. Actually, the password settings depends upon the nature of the application. For example, in banking password, we cannot use the same password you're using for your mobile or some other thing. Because in your mobile, what are the password you're using? Maybe it can be aware for some of your friends or your family members. So depends upon the nature of application, you can use the password. Suppose if the hacker hacked your password, like it contains only numbers means, for example, you are giving like 5-digit number. So what they will do is they will try with the what are the possibilities available. So it is a 3 5 digit means. For example, I'm giving like this one 51993. So that means 5 is the date of birth by under 1993 is the year. So they can easily uh, guess the password, that kind of thing. So this kind of password is called as the vulnerable password. One at least one capital. Don't use sequence number in your mobile, date of birth, etc. Yes, good. But these are the things we have to set as the constraint, because system will only check for these things only. Your password should be alphanumeric. Your password should contain special characters. You should be less than 8. And one more thing, it will check for it should not be the old password. When you are so when we are using for the old password, again means, for example, in take a bank transaction, for every 3 months you have to change your transaction password and the initial password, right? So in that case, after 3 months, again, if you're using the same password, means you will get the error. You should not use the last old 5 passwords like that. So these kind of security measures you have to include for all the applications. It depends upon the nature of application. If the application does not contain any sensitive information, means no need to use that. You just give a password like that. That is enough. So that was they mentioned as the vulnerability assessment and vulnerability tracking. So where are all the weakness available? Where are all the entry points available for the user? That things you have to check. Then if you want, you can include threat intelligence team. So the threat intelligence teams, that is cyber attacks team, they can able to highly motivated team to detect the attacks in the earliest time. So that's all about the SOC technologies. I think you are aware of these things, right? Who are all the process, people, technology. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that is called layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. So next one is the Windows OS. I think we will finish it next 10 to 15 minutes, because these are the very not a new topic to you. You are already aware of this all the things, right? So what are all the OS you know? Please type in the chat box. What are all the variety of OS, including mobile OS also? Any ideas? Various OS: Mac, Windows, Kali Linux, Custom, Pro, Red Hat, Debian, good. Ubuntu, Kali Linux, DOS, Raspberry, Android. Yes, very good, very good. So for mobile you are using the Android iOS, and for in the laptop is using the Windows Mac OS. So in general it is the yes KitKat. So in general it is Android. KitKat is that version like that. It's a good one. Oxygen, okay. So you know about aware of all the things, right? Mac, Ubuntu, Raspberry Pi. Yes, good, good. CentOS, Solaris, iOS, very good. Backbox OS, good, very good. So we have two things, right? So one is this Windows based and one is Linux based OS we generally using. So when you want to become a hacker or you want to be a security analyst, means you should familiar with the usage of Linux based OS like Ubuntu, Debian, because you should be familiar with all the commands instead of going with the GUI. So when you want to become a hacker or when you want to become a Black Arc OS Linux, good, very good, good response. So when you want to become a hacker or when you want to go for a security analyst kind of job, means you should be familiar with all the basic commands. That means you want to execute all the things in the Linux based systems. So that is the thing they're expecting. GUI based is normally for general users only. So when you want to go in the security line, that case means you have to use all the things. Yes, like CLA, that is a command line interface we need. Very good. So as per our syllabus, we have Windows operating system is one of that topic. I'll just explain quick. So Windows OS, it's nearly 35 plus years experience. They have started in 1985 and they started from Windows 1.0 to Windows 10. It's the current version of Windows, and in Windows Server version we have 2016. In every version they are releasing the different that is every release they are having the different version, like enterprise, like for general users, like for organization purpose, like for security purpose. So many things they are releasing. I have one table. In the table you can clearly understand. So how it was developed. So in general, it is called as the DOS operating system. That is a disk operating system. So why we need this operating system first? So what is called operating system means we need, so it will act as interface between the user and the hardware. So as a user or as an application, they cannot make a direct contact with any hardware devices. Sort of hardware devices like your printer, all the things we cannot make in direct communication. We need some interface to make communication. So what they are doing is, so in the early days, how they are storing the information, they have used the punch cards, paper tap, magnet tap, and even audio cassettes. So these are the things. So that does not require any voice kind of things. Nowadays, we are using the floppy disk, hard disk storage, USB drive, all the things to store the information. So in order to access this, we should have some interface. So this operating system enable the data storage devices to read and write file. So generally, it is a simply DOS. Then Microsoft bought this disk operating system and they used as a command line interface. So now we are using the Windows 10, right? So Windows 10 is not a MS-DOS oriented. We can feel the commands of MS-DOS, but it is not MS-DOS base oriented. It is the NT based. It's what is called NT means New Technology OS operating system. So after that, they have developed in 1985 GUI. So graphical user interface. What we are seeing now, it is a graphical user interface without having typing any commands, by simply clicking and opening any application or any folders, any files. So that is the GUI. As I told, Windows 10 is not considered as a DOS OS because it is a new technology OS. The operating system itself direct control of the computer and its hardware. So that is the main purpose why you are using this. Since in DOS OS, that means a DOS, initially CLI, we cannot run the multiple processes at a time. Now we are using doing the multiprocessing. For example, I am going to check my computer, see how many processes in my system it is going on now. So nearly 5 applications are running, 7 applications running. That is Cisco WebEx, Microsoft Edge, PowerPoint, Notepad, Photos, Task Manager, Windows Explorer. So 7 applications running at a multiple time. And in the backend process, nearly I have 86 process running along with OS. Some processes are related to OS, some processes in terms of update. So this many process running in my system. So in that case, I'm using 60%, 58% of CPU and 60% memory like that. So that is the use. How it got this much crazy for that is this multitasking and multiprocessing only. So at the same time, I'm accessing my PPT. At the same time, I'm sharing my screen to you. On the same time, I'm responding your chat box and all the things. So all are working without affecting anything, right? So all are having the separate memory address space, separate thing allocated. So in that one memory address space only, they are working on that. So there is no crash in your system. But the thing is, this application should not touch the kernel. So OS means your layer of kernels, right? Your kernel should not be touched directly. So these are some of the basic commands, right? So how to open that? We have a CMD, that is command prompt. So this is what the CLI, command line interface. So you type dir means what are the directory available in that place. So then CD space directory, if you want to move down into one more directory, that means so instead of one folder you have to give a CD space. And what is this of dot dot? CD space dot dot means, for example, now I am currently in the folder of C users and Muthamal Chudra. When giving CD dot dot means it will come out of the one folder. If you want to again go to the CD that place means, then you have to give the CD space and name. So automatically folder will be created. If you want to completely exit about all this part means, so you have to give the CD slash automatically come outside all the folders. That is a root directory. So apart from this, you have this copy, find, mkdir, there is a make directory, renames the file, help command, what are the commands available, and all the things are available. So by the help of this interface, you can able to understand how the DOS operating system will be there. Then these are the OS version I told. So in that OS, for every OS, nearly they have some 5 to 6 version: starter, home basic, premium, professional, enterprise, ultimate. So as of in the Windows 10, they have released nearly 78. That is home, pro education, enterprise education, IoT core, mobile enterprise. So depends upon the nature of their need, they will access the OS. So current Windows Server version is the Windows 2016. Current Windows OS is Windows 10. So we know what is called OS, what is the need for OS, right? So we have the layer that is a kernel under the things. Then what are the vulnerabilities in your OS? What are the vulnerability means? So in general, your OS will run in two mode, right? So one is the user mode and one is the kernel mode. So user mode and kernel mode. So in all the application, the software you are running in your system, that will run in the application mode. In the kernel mode, so it will directly access the memory addresses. So for example, you have your OS contains millions lines of code. You are including some software in your system. That software also contains millions lines of code. So automatically, what will happen? This two automatic vulnerability will happen. So that's what they mentioned. So that can be expected to reduce the attack viability of the computer's information. So we have to give the preventive measures for this OS vulnerabilities. So to avoid this weakness, we should set up some constraints to overcome these problems, right? So what is the main goal means you have to avoid unauthorized access to your system to make the change permissions and manipulate data. What are the things we can include? We can include the virus or malware protection. So we can install some antivirus software to block the um, virus kind of things, all the things, Tarzan, worms, all the things. And you have to remove the unwanted or unmanaged device from your application from your devices, and you should follow the encryption techniques. What is the encryption means? Your data will be encrypted with some key. With the help of the key only, then the user can able to decrypt the code. So whenever you have some highly sensitive information in your system, please make an encrypt and do that. And otherwise, generally we have a Windows Defender and Windows Firewall. So firewall, it acts like a gateway for the incoming traffic from the outside. So it will filters all the things. It will look for a process. Suppose if there is any large number of traffic coming towards your system from a particular IP, means automatically your firewall will block all the things, right? So firewall is very important. So don't turn off your firewall. So similarly for Windows Defender also. So we need to regularly update your Windows Defender all the things. The reason is for every month your Windows will release the patches. That means some vulnerabilities will be identified and the solutions will be updated in your patches. So you have to update all the things. So one of the reason for Mirai botnet is the not updating the particular patches in the system. So in IoT devices, in firmware, we are not updating. Suppose if the user does not change the initial password and username, or it does not make any update, means automatically who is that? What is the highest number layers in a firewall? Sorry, I will check it and tell. What about the layers in firewall? Okay, so these are the things you have to update it regularly. Suppose if you miss it to update, means the attacker will use that vulnerability as a point of entry to your system. So these are the things that Cisco system they are representing. So that's what I mentioned. Virus or malware production, unknown or unmanaged service. So whenever you have the unwanted service in a system, you have to disable from that, do some encryption, local security policies. So in general, We'll have a security policies in your system uh, for typing local security. Rules will be there. And check that. Then file and share permission. So if you want to share your files through some mode of transport, you should give the access directly. So this is what I told, weak or no password. So if you're giving weak password or no password to your confidential files, automatically it is vulnerable for the attackers. And login as administrator, you have to strictly avoid that. You should use a standard user. So whenever you need some changes in your system, so that time you can run as the administrator, because automatically without any notification, you are directly accessing the system resources in if you are running as the administrator. So these are the some Windows OS security recommendations given by the Cisco actually. Then we have a hardware abstraction layer. So what is the hardware abstraction layer? So it is your communication between your hardware and the kernel. So what is kernel is a OS, right? Already told we cannot make a direct communication with your hardware. We have OS kernels into the hardware only it can make a communication. The best examples I told, user mode under the kernel mode. So in general, you have a user application, that is user interface, right? So that is the first layer given to the user. So after that, you will have a file management system, then input output operation, then you have memory management, then only your kernel will be available. So user cannot reach the kernel directly, and similarly kernel will touch with the final layer, that is your hardware abstraction directly. So these are the components. We have given the flowchart for that, that is a layer. So your user application, then you have a API, that is your application program interface. That's all only available for the user. Then after that, if you want to access the hardware means, so these are the things they have to go through, that your operating system kernel, then hardware abstraction layer, then only reach the hardware. So this one I told you, if you work on the two modes, that is user mode, kernel mode. So in general, we are running in the user mode only, that is installation of software, accessing any software user mode. In kernel mode means there is a direct contact with your hardware layer, so automatically you will have a restricted address, that means that particular address space only for the kernel process only, we cannot use that thing. So that's what I given here. So this kernel model can refer any memory address, but user mode you can refer that as go through the OS only. So whenever you are accessing some software, since you are doing multitasking and multiprocessing, there will be a separate address space for all the applications. It will be allocated dynamically, depends upon the availability. But in kernel mode, you will have a separate allocation for that. You cannot touch that because if there is any modification or any crashes done in the kernel, automatically your OS will shut down. We have Windows file system. I think you all aware of this five things, right? So FAT. So where you have seen this one, FAT file system? Any guesses? FAT file system, expat, HFS plus, ext, NTFS. Have you seen this one? FAT32, FAT16. Okay. Go to my system. So look at my drives. I'm going to check my property of my hard disk partition. So it is showing the type as NTFS. That is a new technology file system. Okay, right? So this is called as a file system. So what is called FAT32? It's a FAT16, FAT32 is a type. So it is the file allocation table. When you take any USB drive, you can put any USB drive, click on the USB drive and check the file system. It is a FAT32. So This FAT extension, that is a FAT file system, will allow only the lowest partitions and lowest number of folder structure only. In case of NTFS, high partitions can be applied, high number of information can be stored. So that's why hard disk are given as a NTFS and your pen drive is giving as a UTFS. Then what is called expert? So it is extended version of your file allocation table. But this is one of the drawback. We cannot use this kind of file system outside the Windows environment. For example, if you have a FAT file system, this can be applicable outside the Windows environment also. Then HFS plus, so similar to NTFS, how NTFS is available for Windows OS, HFS is available for your Mac OS, hierarchical file system. We can also access the HFS plus file system with the help of the specialized software. Then EXT, so EXT is for the Linux based system. So for that we are using for the Mac, and this is for your Windows. And this FAT allocation, this is mainly for the USB drives. So these are the different file system available. Process, threads, services. So it is hierarchy. Can take any process. If application contains several number of processes, in every process you will have at least one thread. So that is the logic. So that is the hierarchy. That is the application, then process, then threads, then services. So for every process we have a one or every application we have one or more process, and in each process you have at least one thread will be running. So this is the basic concept. And services, so what are the programs run in the background of Instance? Already shown in the Windows Task Manager, right? So these are all the things. So these are the processes running in my system. So here you can identify, or if you want to stop means you can enter the task also. So, services. The next one is the Windows registry. So what does the registry mean? So registry plays a main role in case of cyber forensics. In case of any investigation related to the cyber attacks, so all the system information will be tracked through this Windows registry only. So what will happen is, so what are the things I have done in my system? Everything will be stored in the Windows registry, that is a Windows log system. It stores all the information about your hardware, your applications, what are the users available in the system. The system is sitting in the large database. So generally it can be in the form of hives. Hives means level of 1. So all the hives will have a keys and sub keys. I will give the thing. So in the Windows registry we have 5 hives. I will show that window also. Registry editor.exe, you can run it in the. Okay. So I have 5 things: classes root, current user, local machine, users, current configuration. So these are the registry files. So current user will hold the data about your currently logged in user. That means about myself. Then it will deals data about all the users in the system. Class root about your linking and embedding registrations. Then describe about your local machine. Hold about your hardware profile. So this information cannot be read directly by the user, because when you type the, for example, I will discuss about the current user. Now you see about some software, Max Travert. So when I click in this, we have this one, right? REGS is at default. So what are the meaning is, so for all this registry we'll have keys and values. So these keys in the form of 3 different things. So one is the registry binary, or registry word, or registry asset. Binary means it can be true or false or numbers. D word means the numbers greater than 32 bits or raw data. And REGS is a string value. So look at this one. I have this one is the REGS. That means this value is the string value. So the thing is, we cannot create any hive in the registry, but we can change the values in the registry. But it is highly not correct solution to change the registry values, because it automatically affect your system process. So these are about the registries. The netstat is one of the command we are using in the but to check the what are all the ports opening in your system. So what will happen is, so in general, attacker what will do is, what are the ports? So for every type of traffic will have a separate port. So through that port only, attacker will that means traffic will come and go. If there is any process in that port, means that port should be closed. So if there is any port listening for a very long time, means attacker will take this as a vulnerability and attack the system. So that is the thing. So these are all the ports opening in my system. So 193.168.43.106 is my IP address. So these are the ports available in my system. So what the ethical hacker will do is, suppose you are telling that my system is hacked, means they will first run this command. What are all the things opening in there? So there are many commands available in along with the netstat, so network statistics. That means IP addresses, or they can easily identify that. Suppose if any port is opening for a very long time, means that port is vulnerable to attack. In general, you are automatically, once the service completed, means port will be closed. Suppose if it is open, means you are vulnerable to attacks. So that's what they are given. It will display all of the TCP connections that are available. So whenever malware is present in computer, it will often open the communication ports on the host to send receive data. So whenever you are a virus is affecting a system, so the first thing it will do is the creating the backdoor for your entry. So through this one little, and this is your port information. For example, take the port 21. So it is for file transfer protocol, that is between a client and server. And port number 22, that is secure shell, that makes the help of the encryption. Then look at the thing 25 and 110 and 143. These are the mail transfer protocol. So for mail purpose, they're opening this port. And for HTTP, in general, are using the port number 80. So port number 80 means when you're accessing the web browser, automatically port number 80 will be opened. And if you're using the secure website, means port number 44, 43 will be opened. So the main aim of this vulnerability assessment team is to check whether all the ports are opening and closing properly. If there is any unwanted opening at the time of no requirement, means you have to check this as a vulnerability. Then we know what's a client server communication, right? So client are nothing but the users and servers. In the other side, we are using some medium that is called as your web browsers. So these are the basic things only: servers, services, and their ports. So ports just now only I told. So how the service will be established? For example, if you are asking for you're going to open some Facebook page, so it is HTTPS port, right? So automatically from your browser, port number 80110 will be, sorry, port number 443 will be opened from your system, and at the same time the Facebook will comes to the request. So that is the client server communication. So depends upon the service, you have to open and close it. That's all about the last one. So what are the practices for device hardening? So what is called device hardening means enriching the security. So not only providing the logical security, you should give the physical security also. What is called physical security means it should be you should be given the proper UPS connection. You should be free from fire, free from water, all the things, and disable unused services. Suppose take my task manager. So I want to have a startup. So these are the startup services. They're happening in my system when the Windows boots the OS. So I have disabled all the things. If it is not disabled means, so whenever your system is going to start, this all the process will start automatically. It will make complicated the remaining process. So likewise, whenever you have the process that is no need to run that process, means you have to disable that process and keep the system updated. I already told, whenever patch is released, you have to update with your system and disable USB auto detection. So as you have seen that the Mirai botnet and the Stuxnet virus, everything happened through the USB stick only. Then enforce strong password, right? We discussed already what are all the password constraints you are giving for that. Then force periodic password changes. So these are in highly sensitive application like banking. They are allowed to change the password and for every 90 days. and they keep users from reusing the old password. So don't allow the users to use the same password again and again. Review the logs clearly. So we have the event log for that actually. The event viewer, right? In the event viewer, you can track all the user activities. That means what are the things they have done for the last two things like that. So you have to think window logs, applications and services logs. So if you go to any services means, for example, I'm going for the application. So here it will show all the events occur in that application when it will show the error that in the different color transition like that. So look at this one. In the 22/6/2020, I got one error and I got one information. So it is actually installed to the service. So likewise, there will be event for all the application available in a system. So this event viewer helps the cyber forensics team to make use of the resources. That means what are the things done by the user in the system that will be mapped clearly. That's all about the slides. Do you have any doubt in this? I think Windows OS is you already familiar with it. That's why I'm kind of very fastly. You have any doubts? Do we have to download Event Viewer separately? No, Event Viewer is part of the Windows application itself. It is available in your system itself. You can directly go to the search bar and type for Event Viewer. You can search it. முடிஞ்சு மேம் ஃபீட்பேக் மட்டும் நம்ம 2 மினிட்ஸ் ஃபீட்பேக் மட்டும் ரெடி பண்ணிக்கிறேன் மேம். Any other having doubts? I will share the feedback link. You can give the feedback. மேம் எலிசபெத் மேம் சொல்லுங்க சார். முடிஞ்சு மேம் மைண்ட் பண்ணிடலாம் மேம். ஓகே சார். தேங்க் யூ சார். Thank you for sharing your ideas among the students. So it's break for lunch. So the afternoon session will be started by 2 p.m. So I request all the students come before 15. I expect all to be participate by 1:45 p.m. So the external members will come at 8:30. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, students. Thank you for your cooperation. So if you have any doubts, you can ping me. So please give your feedback. That will also consider for your attendance. In the initial also, we have given the attendance link. I will, in that also, you have to give your name and register number. You can come back again by 1:45 for the afternoon session. So afternoon, we have a real-time attack scenarios will be discussed by our one of the alumni. We have one of the hacking expert. So please don't miss the afternoon session. It will be very interesting. So please come back again by 1:45. So you can give your feedback and you can do the session. Thank you.